This was a sandalwood tree, worth tens of millions. Under the huge temptation of money, countless smugglers came to this forest, chopping down sandalwood worth billions. Just when they were cutting with full force, suddenly a whistle blew from the mountaintop. All the smugglers froze, as if they had seen something terrifying. The very next second, they dropped everything and ran for their lives, because they knew it was that iron-blooded police officer. He was the nightmare of every sandalwood smuggler. Once caught, they'd be eating prison food for the rest of their lives. At this moment, a man with an aura of dominance stepped forward. His name was Rashi. He looked at everyone and said, "Fortune comes with risk. After working so hard cutting all day, are we just going to hand it over to the cops? I have an idea. Just follow me. Nothing will happen." Soon, the officer and his men stormed in, only to find a group of men casually playing chess. The officer asked what they were doing there. They replied they were just herding goats. The excuse didn't convince him. He removed his sunglasses and saw Rashi fiddling with an axe. The officer asked sharply why he was holding an axe. Rashi calmly replied, "I'm here to chop wild beasts." He didn't put the officer in his eyes at all. Furious, the officer pulled out his gun and pointed it at Rashi's head. But Rashi's men weren't easy to provoke either. With his axe in hand, Rashi stepped forward, glaring fiercely. One of the constables whispered, "Sir, no sandalwood has been found nearby. Let's just leave." Helpless, the officer turned around and left in anger. Once they were gone, Rashi looked up. The smugglers had hidden all the sandalwood high in the dense treetops. With a single chop, timber worth tens of millions fell from the sky. They carried it down the mountain, hid it behind cattle, and finally transported it to the loading point. Just as they were about to settle payments, the officer returned with hundreds of policemen. This time, he was fully prepared. He ordered the smugglers to stay put and surrender, but Rashi remained frighteningly calm. Suddenly, chaos. The officer fired into the air, scaring most smugglers to scatter. Rashi, however, lifted a huge log, jumped 5 meters high, tossed it onto the truck, and started the engine. With a roar, the truck loaded with tons of sandalwood flew 10 meters into the air and crashed down, continuing its mad escape. Police cars gave chase, but at a sharp turn, the truck mysteriously vanished. Only Rashi was left behind. The police searched everywhere but found no timber, so they dragged him back to the station. Inside, Rashi was tortured brutally. Suddenly, a van arrived. The boss of the smuggling syndicate, Sangkun, had come. Impressed by Rashi's silence, he bailed him out. Rashi then led them to a well. Turns out, when the police were close to catching him, he had driven the truck straight into the water well. With cranes, they hauled timber worth tens of millions back up. As a reward, Rashi received 1 million. But on leaving, the syndicate boss insulted him, giving him just 100 rupees for transport instead of taking him along. Furious, Rashi bought a red sports car, drove straight to the syndicate's headquarters, and humiliated the very man who had disrespected him. Inside, Sangkun was raging. Police had seized sandalwood worth 30 million. At that moment, Rashi stepped up and said, "I know how to outsmart the cops, but I'll only tell you, boss. Everyone else must leave." That night, the two plotted. According to Rashi's plan, they hollowed out milk tanks, hid timber at the bottom, sealed it with iron plates, and filled it back with milk. At checkpoints, police searched, even hammered the tanks, but found nothing. The trucks passed safely, but the officer wasn't convinced. Knocking one of the tanks, he realized the bottom was solid. 2 smugglers were caught and, under pressure, revealed the warehouse's location. Coincidentally, the true kingpin appeared. He wasn't Sangkun, but Dahai, the only man capable of moving goods to the port. Sangkun was just his supplier. Dahai brought in hundreds of trucks full of sandalwood, storing them in the warehouse. With police cracking down, only Sangkun's base was safe. The shipment had to leave tomorrow. He ordered Rashi to guard it. Soon after, Sangkun secretly warned Rashi that the warehouse had been exposed. Police were rushing over. Rashi immediately paid $1 million to a worker at the nearby reservoir, planning to dump all the timber into the river. One by one, the logs were thrown into the Ganges. At the final moment, the dam manager shut the gates. Police swarmed in, but found nothing. They had failed again. Rishi had just saved billions for the syndicate. Soon, Dahai invited him to the group's grand ball. After dancing for hours, Rishi stepped outside for a smoke, only to overhear Dahai's men talking. Dahai bought timber for 1 million, but sold it for 20 million. The profit difference was enormous. Rishi told Sankun, but he wasn't surprised. With politicians backing Dahai, they had no choice but to hand over all goods to him. If you can't stand it, go negotiate with Dahai. If you succeed, we split 50-50. The next day, Rishi drove his sports car to Dahai's residence, just in time to witness them punishing a supplier who had dared to demand a higher price. Right then, a politician called, asking them to spare the man. But Dahai said coldly, "Too late. If you had called 5 minutes earlier, maybe. But now, he's already dead." And with that, he executed the man in front of everyone. Rishi watched it all without fear. Instead, he demanded a higher price. The assassins were shocked. Someone asking for more money after just seeing a man killed? Surely he was courting death. But Rishi walked out calm and fearless. Then, to their shock, he suddenly returned, picked up Dahai's phone, and directly called the buyers. He told them he had premium sandalwood for sale, and even left his personal number. This act completely enraged Dahai. With just a glance, he ordered his men to kill Rishi.